This week's guest on the podcast is the amazing Katie Barron, who is a naturopath and a physical examination expert. She is like our go-to physical examination person, and you're going to hear all about why in this episode. But first, I just want to say a massive thank you, Katie, for being here today and sharing your knowledge and expertise and experience with us. So thank you for being here.
Not a problem. It's lovely. Monday morning special. Why not?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get into it by talking a little bit about how you first got started and interested in the health space, and then we can go from there and how you've evolved into where you are today.
Oh God. Okay. So how long is a piece of string and where do I start? Getting involved in the health space. I guess that part of the story is sort of probably really similar to a lot of practitioners where, you know, having my own health challenges and working through different things. I guess a little bit of a misspent youth in my late teens and early 20s with a lot of traveling and enjoying the finer things in life at that time, and then feeling really I just really burnt out from that, and not really knowing what to do and where to go. Having a relationship breakdown was the catalyst as well, and I just went, no, I'm going to go and study this.
Yeah.
And I'll admit that, you know, starting a degree, Bachelor of Health Science, I think I was like sort of 22, 23 when I started, and I really I don't know, I sort of thought it would be a little bit of playing with herbs in the hills, and very quickly realized that it is very much a degree in science.
Yeah.
So, head down and bum up, but it was really that got me into it. And you know what it's like, you start playing with herbs and food and supplements, and you start working out what works for you, and you start feeling better, and it really anchors in what we do and the difference that we can make even before we've started sort of treating other people, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's like a awakening to a whole new world, isn't it?
Totally. Yep, it really is. And just especially if you start looking at how things are affecting you and energy. And you know, I had a lot of anxiety that I didn't even realize that I had.
Yeah.
And I started taking good care of myself on a physical level, but also really just following my dream and sort of my purpose. It was like, oh, this is it. This is it.
Oh, beautiful. And so when you graduated, you went into clinical practice. Tell us a little bit about your evolution from clinical practice to teaching people all about physical examination and any steps in between.
Oh, okay. So I had two babies while I was studying.
Wow.
So that was
not big enough. Let's add two babies in there too.
Totally, it's like no rest for the wicked.
Yeah.
So my degree, I took a little bit of time off and was doing things at my own pace, which was frustrating for someone that likes to kind of just go all in. But you know, hindsight is a wonderful thing, and it really actually only served me, to be honest. That process. And then I finished my degree, and I literally the very next semester went back to college and helped out. I was really lucky, right place, right time, and you know, I got really good marks in my clinic work. But I got to go back and be clinical assistant at college, and that was a really that started me in post-grad sort of academic side of the work side of things, which I discovered I really enjoyed. But like a lot of people, I sort of went into clinical practice as well, into private practice. And I sort of I progressed both in my private practice and in my teaching side of it. and I went on to lecturing and clinic supervision, as well as sort of building my private practice. And I was doing both.
Yeah.
And I think I mentioned this to you sort of off air before. I was enjoying private practice, but I was loving the teaching. And I just loved it. Like I really loved seeing, you know, students, and now, you know, with qualified practice, that little kind of moment where it's like that, oh yeah, cool, I get that. So yeah, I think after, I slowly sort of transitioned from my private I tapered off with that and just went into lecturing full time. And then I developed the Let's Get Physical training program for qualified practitioners.
Amazing. Tell us a little bit about that. Love the name.
I know, it was a bit fun. And I was thinking, things kind of in my mind, it got a little bit wacky. I was like, oh, maybe I can come out all Jane Fonda with like the headsets.
Yes, you've got your marketing plan there. I expect to see some reels.
Oh, and then I was like, okay, Katie, let's keep it above the line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I have fun too, though.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Well, yeah, it's got to be. You know, what we know about the brain and neuroplasticity is that when we're relaxed and we're kind of enjoying what we're doing, we retain information, we learn better, you know, we're able to use it. So, fun is very important.
Yeah.
So, but prior to COVID, I ran a workshop tour around Australia and New Zealand, and it was a two-day workshop, and basically you just ran through all of the physical examinations that the natural health practitioner could need. And we got to practice and have a really good time with it. And then I was going to take a group to. It's a really interesting evolution when I think about it. Because when I first started, as a lot of practitioners are, we're very focused on the what needs to be done. Yeah. And we get very focused on the facts, and we get focused on the how-tos and all of the things. And then as we refine our practice, or in my case, I refine my offering and my training, I'm able to bring in more of myself, bring in more of my alignment, bring in more of my values, bring in more of what's really, really important. And so for me, that I started playing with this idea. One of the things that gets me up in the morning and gets me to my desk every day is being of service. So that's knowing that whatever I do is going to have a positive impact on someone, and I can kind of almost pan out and see what that will look like for practitioners and then for their people. And so in 2020, I was going to take a group to Sri Lanka, and we had everything kind of sorted out, and we were going to do some give back actually in some communities, some health kind of checks in some communities, as well as training. And then obviously the world shut down.
It's such a shame that couldn't go ahead. That sounds like such a beautiful thing to do or to organize.
It was it actually took me a really long time to work out that I held a lot of grief around not being able to do that, and that's okay. And as everyone did, and as everyone does, and as everyone on the planet will continue to do, is that things changed and we evolve and we kind of pivot and go, okay, well, how else can I do what I'm meant to be here to do?
Beautiful. And I want to chat more about that and like the online pivot. But when it comes to the Sri Lanka trip, do you think that's something you're going to do now that the world has opened back up and there's a potential for that? Or do you think that's just something that you have like put on your bookshelf for a later date, or just don't want to do anymore?
Definitely want to do it. It's still, the idea very much lights me up. I have a couple of friends in Sri Lanka who've said that in particular, Sri Lanka is a pretty tricky place to be right now.
Okay, yeah.
So the logistics of that are big. And I think it's a park that one for a while.
Day to day. Yeah, but I also just want to honor you for organizing that. Like, I know how much is involved in just even hosting something in Australia, let alone in another country. So for you to have to do all that back end stuff and even just like have the courage to do something so big, like really want to celebrate you for that, because that's phenomenal. And I'm sure whenever it does end up happening or wherever it ends up happening, like, yeah, it's going to be incredible and just like massive, like, yeah, kudos to you for all that you're doing and just going after your dreams and creating what you want to see in the world and the impact that you really want to be here to show up and offer.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you mentioned that got cancelled in 2020 and you had your program, Let's Get Physical. Tell us a little bit more about your online business and your offerings and what you're doing now 3 years later.
Okay, cool. Well, it's funny because even before COVID, when I was in my private practice consulting, probably for about the last year, I had taken about 90% of my business online.
Amazing.
And that was pre-COVID. So I was actually very, very used to consulting online. I was very used to speaking online and being being seen, online. So even just taking the training online was like, okay, let's just do this, because I knew that the world was going to open back up again. Yeah. And I knew online consulting was and is here to stay. Yeah. But there's also going to be that face-to-face stuff that will make a comeback. And I've noticed that it is. Yeah. So it's pretty cool because now there's a space for both.
Totally.
Which is actually just incredible, because it just means that there's the capacity to help more people and to be hybrid about it, which is a really, really exciting time, actually. So what I did was I immediately just went, the world was blowing up and shutting down, and everyone was freaking out and trying to sort of pivot their practices online. And so I just, once again, it's like a question that I ask myself, and I know a lot of your practitioner listeners will be doing the same, is that whenever you're thinking about your community, I'm always, my first thought is like, is this going to be helpful? Yeah. So whatever I say, whatever I do, whatever I offer, release, whatever, it's like, will this be helpful? So I immediately just went, I'm just going to do a webinar on how to bring physical examinations into the online space. Yeah. So that was like, bang, let's just do that as a starting point. And that week, gangbusters, because everyone was moving online. Yeah. And I think everybody needed a bit of focus. It's like, let's focus on what we can do instead of freaking out about what we can't. Yeah. So that was really cool. And then I just went, well, I'm going to put all my trainings online, and we'll package it all up as a membership sort of course, and I'll run that over 9 months, and we'll just get together and we'll talk about it, and we'll talk about it online and face to face. And that was really cool. I gave away a few spots in that course for people that were particularly affected at the time in Melbourne. That were really, really sort of struggling. And it was a really fun experiment to run, actually, because what I did was I think it was about 5 spots in the membership, but I said, okay, to bring everyone together and make them feel a little bit kind of happier in amongst everything, it was like, I want you guys to nominate someone else. So it was like another practitioner going, I'm going to nominate Jane Doe for this reason. And then, I could get in touch with that person and tell them why. And oh my God, it was amazing. And there were tears, and there was fun, and there was laughter. And it was, I really enjoyed that. And so that was another little breadcrumb towards okay. So I feel really motivated, really inspired, really uplifted and raring to go when I balance the giving to myself and my business, giving to my paid practitioners community, and just giving.
Yeah.
It's got to be this. I've worked out it's got to be this, because if it's not there, I'm just like, okay, buy my thing. Yeah, it's good, because it is. It's really good, and everyone needs to do it. But I'm a bit like, yeah, cool.
Yeah.
But when I'm like giving, it's like, come on, let's do this.
Yeah.
Makes sense?
Yeah, it's a beautiful mix. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that sort of happened, and it was fun filming all of that and creating all the content in the background. It was really interesting. And then with my videographer, so that was really fun, especially over COVID. So I ran that membership, and then what else did I do? Yeah, and then I went traveling last year. I went traveling around Australia and Indonesia with my family.
Yeah, so cool. And you've created this freedom-based business that allows that. How incredible.
Yeah, yep, I have. While I was in Indonesia, in Bali in particular, I went and visited this foundation, and it's called Bumi Sehat. It's a it's expanded now. It was just a birthing center. Now it's a community health center just in the outskirts of Ubud.
Okay.
And I went and visited with them because I wanted, part of the next horizon of my business is going and doing, they want me to do some training with their midwives, but also I might take a group there. But I just saw what they were doing and what they had created there, and it absolutely blew my mind. And it was another, this is another breadcrumb. Here we go. So just tuning into that feeling of going, where is this taking me? How does this feel? Does it feel in alignment? And this place did. Basically, they are a foundation that help women birth safely in Bali.
Wow.
There's a really high infant mortality rate, birthing rate there. And this woman, she is American. Her name is Robin Lynn. She moved from the States to Bali. She's in her 60s now, but I think she was in her 20s when she went there. And she had her first child as a home birth, and a lot of Indonesian women were coming to her and going, how has everything worked out so well for you with this? So she started helping other women. Home birth. And then she created a little clinic. They put together a little clinic space, and then that grew, and then that grew. Now they have this clinic. They have an ambulance service that a van that takes each woman home after birthing, because one of the things that was going on is that a lot of the women were trying to sort of get home on a motorbike.
Oh gosh.
With a baby, newborn. Which if anyone has had a child, you would know it's not the most comfortable thing to be doing. I felt really connected to this place, and I just went, okay. So part of what I'm doing this year is I'm running some trainings, and all of the proceeds, 100% of the profits are going to Bumi. And I plan to document, so everyone can sort of share in what they're doing as well to help this place. And I'll be sharing my journey with giving them the money and feeling excited about that.
Oh, that is so special. What a beautiful thing to do, and a great contribution to their community.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And we were speaking a little bit off air, actually, and I feel like this is a great segue into it, about how you've integrated your values, your personal values, into your business. Do you want to speak a little bit more to that, so that other people, as they're building their career or progressing in their careers and businesses, can also really align their values?
Okay. So I I love, first of all, so I guess the biggest thing is, and I guess this is a lifelong question, is for humans, is what are your values? And there's certainly no right and wrong with what that is. And as I've mentioned, there's a few ways you can work that out. I mean, you have to be introspective for a start.
Yeah.
You have to be able to sort of look at yourself, look at what excites you, what motivates you, how things make you feel. You know, like, how do you feel when you, like, for me, when I give and I go to these places, I'm so motivated and inspired. I'm like, I just want to rush back and do all of the things to be able to be a part of whatever it is that I've been looking at.
Yeah.
But for other people, it might be working with children. With other people, it might be creating financial legacy for their own family. It doesn't have to be about giving. There's literally no right or wrong. But when you start tapping into how things make you feel, even on a day-to-day basis, do you feel more inspired in nature? Do you feel more inspired in a little office? Are you more motivated at night or the morning? You start kind of being able to go, and follow those little breadcrumbs of things. Sort of like I did. And as you do that, you can start integrating that into your practice, into your business as well.
Yeah.
Bit by bit.
Yeah, it's so important, and it really supports with that growth, doesn't it? Rather than feeling like you're pushing against the stream, you're kind of going with the flow, and like you're feeling good, you're feeling inspired, as you mentioned, like noticing those things where you do feel good and feel inspired and get in flow and just do anything to make it possible and make it happen, rather than trying to just like head towards goals that maybe society has told you should want, or other people have kind of placed upon you, rather than feeling into what's true and important for you and going that direction. There can just be such a difference.
100%. And also knowing and also honoring, it's really easy for us to talk about the light. It's very easy for us to go, this inspires me, this lights me up, I'm going to be in this space all the time. But the shadow also holds equal measure with this and equal worth. And giving that, not rushing back to the light, not rushing back to all of those things, but going, oh God, I feel so depleted by this. I'm so, why?
Yeah. Totally. So much benefit in that as well, and really exploring that, because sometimes those things that don't feel expansive can actually just be things that we have blocks around. So for example, you spoke earlier about how you've been comfortable being seen and on the internet because you've been doing it for a really long time. At the start, for a lot of people, it's not like that. That doesn't mean it's not something they should do or work towards. It's just something that maybe that's actually just a block. And it's also feeling in and being able to discern, is that something you want to do, or do you want a different pathway? But a lot of the time there can be those limitations that we're kind of placing upon ourselves without even realizing, just based on our conditioning, our upbringing, upon many different reasons that they can arise. But really feeling into that and being like, is this something that I want, that I just feel uncomfortable, or it feels a bit sticky right now because it's not something I'm used to, or it's something new, or something that's really stretching me out of my comfort zone? Or is this something that just like, there's a different path for me? So yeah, I'm really glad you mentioned that.
And you don't know till you try.
Exactly.
So anyone that says, oh, no, I don't like being visible, that's not for me, I'm like, oh, but have you tried that?
Yeah.
Oh, no, because it's not for me. You must try, because your own version of being visible it doesn't have to be showing up, doing reels and dancing around and pointing at things.
Yeah.
I'm terrible at that. But, your own version of being, I remember. So how you refine it. So when I found this fun. So one of the things that I enjoy is keeping things in my teachings and in my offerings, is having some fun with things, keeping things lighthearted. But even within that needs to be refined. So I know one of the ways that I worked that one out was I used to do this, there's still a lot of videos floating around, but I used to do this thing on a Wednesday night called Wednesday Wine Night. And it was so fun. And I'd have a really nice glass of wine with this really nice glass. And I was talking about health things, like women's health things. So they could come along with a glass of wine and we'd all just chat. And it was really, it was partly in alignment because it was fun and it was casual and it was making learning fun. But then there was other stuff about it where I was over dialing the fun with the wine and the rah, 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 and I didn't, that wasn't quite, but I needed to do that.
Yeah.
That pendulum swing to find that balance.
Yeah.
Of going, well, because I found at the end of that, instead of being like, oh, that was awesome and I feel uplifted, I felt depleted because I was over dialing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm so glad you brought that into, because it does take that trial and error sometimes, or we evolve. We're constantly evolving. We can't expect something that resonates with us now to always resonate with us. It might change. You might notice it's like, oh, actually, where am I overdoing this? Or where am I underdoing this? Or am I hiding some part of me? Or where am I turning up this part of me? Because that's what I think people want to see, rather than being true to us. And the only way we discover that is through the action and through taking those steps and knowing that we don't have to get it right from the beginning. And chances are we're not going to get it right from the beginning, and that's okay.
There is no right. It's
exactly
part of the evolution of who you are and what you're doing and what you're offering.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not like there's ever going to be that moment where it's like, yes, I'm ready. This is exactly how it's meant to be for the rest of my life. It's like, no, that evolves.
Oh God, yeah. I'm a very different woman at 44 to 34 to 24. Very, very, and 54 will be different and 64 will be different. So
absolutely.
Yeah,
I love that. And actually, speaking of getting comfortable being visible, do you have any tips for people who aren't quite there yet? Or like, how did you get comfortable in front of the camera, putting yourself out there and those sorts of things?
I was quite lucky in that I started working with Tammy Guest as a
Tammy.
Yeah, she's so great. And she's like the queen of visibility and authenticity. So it was like, that was cool. But in particular, the offering that she had, this group mentoring program, this was like a number of years ago, where so we're in the safety of like a Facebook group, myself and a group of other practitioners, and we had to show up and do Facebook Lives in the group.
Yeah.
And so it was very small, it was very safe, it was all of the things. And it was like, so, you're sitting there and you're talking and and it's all, you're looking at yourself rather than looking at the other person. So I sort of had a bit of practice with that. But the other thing is literally just doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, the people that are listening to this podcast, I'm assuming, are all probably students and
graduates and people, natural health professionals working in the field.
In the field. Okay, so in a number of times in your audience's life, they've had to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And you've done it anyway.
Yeah.
So just do it.
Yeah.
Die.
Yeah, we won't die. And that's like, we've got to show our body that by showing up and doing it and being like, see, I didn't die. And just keep doing that until it's like, cool, I can get rid of that fear because I haven't died all these other times. Like, I'm going to be fine.
Yeah. The other big one, and this is part, like, once again, this is part of my motivation and my alignment, is before I go and say or do anything, like I know I've mentioned the number one question, I haven't written it everywhere, is this helpful? And will this help someone? So if I can, instead of going, oh my God, my hair doesn't look great today, or, oh, the lighting isn't perfect, or, I mean, we all want to put our best foot forward. There's definitely ways to make sure that what you're doing and how you're presenting yourself is from your best foot forward and professional and things like that. Yeah. But ultimately, if I can, before I say or I do anything, if I can tap into, is this going to be useful and helpful? But also I can kind of feel into the fact that what I've got to say next will help someone's life. Then all of a sudden it actually stops being about me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my ego kind of goes, oh, damn, can't fight that one.
Yeah. Like, all right, fine, we'll do it.
Yeah. Because I'm like, Okay, cool. And as I said, for someone, that might not be everyone, but for someone else, it might be, if I show up on this Instagram live, that means that I'll get another client, which means that I can buy my kids soccer shoes.
Mhm.
Or I can, contribute to the mortgage, or I can buy that really nice food that I wanted to get this week.
Yeah.
Or if you go, why?
Yeah,
And
find some motivation. Yeah.
you'll do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Something that really landed for me as well, I can't remember where or when I learned this, but it's like when we don't show up and give what we have to offer, we're actually robbing that person of receiving it, and they could really benefit from that. And when I looked at it from that perspective, rather than focusing, like you said, rather than focusing on ourselves and like how are we going to look, but realizing that like, wow, that thing I said could have changed that person's life, but I didn't say it because I was afraid to. Like, we're robbing them of that. So when that landed with me, I was like, oh wow, okay, like, yeah, like it's actually selfish not to be out there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And we all know, like, anyone in this profession wants to help people.
exactly.
That's why we're all here. That's why we got into it, as well as ourselves. But it's that thing where it's like, so if we can press on that pain point with ourselves, it's like, oh, you just won't not show up because
it really is like everything we've been speaking to, like finding your why, finding your values and ingraining them in the business and in all that you do. Like it all helps move that needle forward and helps us get out of our comfort zone, even when our mind's telling us don't do it.
Absolutely, especially when your mind is, because often that's the time. I mean, that's a very different experience to base jumping off a huge building. That's don't do it for a very good reason.
Yeah, totally.
Instagram and talking about a health topic, that's a fabulous thing, and that's just your mind playing tricks on you.
Absolutely, yeah. And I also love that you mentioned that it was part of a mastermind that you originally got yourself out there, because that's another brilliant way, like accountability and being part of a group of other people who are also putting themselves out of their comfort zone. That in itself can have so much value.
Absolutely. So not only, the accountability thing, it's like, oh, I don't want to let everyone down.
Yeah.
So that thing of you being vulnerable makes you a leader. It gives people permission to sort of be vulnerable as well. I think the human condition is to always compare. We're never going to not do that. And as soon as we realize that's just our human mind and our human ego and our human experience, then we're good to go.
Yeah.
But we can also, but when we're comparing ourselves to real versions of real people, not the carefully curated things, you realize that everybody is actually the same. They're dealing with their own versions of blocks about things, but everyone's got them.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and you kind of go, I'm just going to do this anyway.
Yes, 100%. I love that. Yeah. And so if you had a piece of advice for younger Katie, back when you were graduating, before you knew all that you did now, what would you tell her?
Oh, okay. I love acquiring knowledge.
Yep.
Yeah. Spend more time refining your why. Because I thought the knowledge, I thought the degree, I thought the hows and the why, the hows, and the whats.
Yep.
Are going to be the underpinning of my business and my journey with all of this, but it's not. It's your why.
Yeah.
And so spending more time, your degree and your formal training, and look, I as you know, I teach ongoing postgrad education. So it's incredibly important that we become lifelong learners within our profession and within our field, without a doubt.
Yeah.
But it can't be everything. And I see a lot of that.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of people just doing the degree and then doing the masters and then doing yes, you need discernment with that.
Yeah.
Because we need to keep doing that all the time. That's going to be one part of it. But part of your day, part of your week, part of your review of your business and your life has got to be tapping back into that why, because if you nail that, you will grow, you will create everything from that place, and it will not get boring, and you will not change your mind in a couple of weeks' time.
Yes, such an important driver. Hey.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
wish I had spent a little bit more time working on that.
Yeah, it's all right though. You got there. Yeah. And let's chat a little bit more about physical examination itself. So, and obviously the importance of that, especially in an age where so much of what we do is online. Yeah.
There is so much that we can do, and there's so much that we can't do online.
Yeah, of course.
And it's really, once again, the dark and the light, and the yes and the no. We need to be able to discuss all of it.
Yeah.
It is vital, absolutely vital, that every practitioner knows the physical examinations for both online and face-to-face, even if you are solely online, because you're going to have a background knowledge of what you're going to refer your patient away to get done. So, if I don't know, wild example here, if someone presents to you in your online consult and they've got drooping of the face, you need to know which cranial nerve's involved, or if you're looking at someone's tongue and there's a deviation to one side, what cranial nerve is involved, so that you can send for further investigation. It's about kind of being able to deepen that knowledge and do that stuff. There's a lot of educating and empowering your patient in the online consultation, to be able to start looking at physical examinations themselves and reporting back to you. Not only is that, I mean, blood pressure, for example. I'm an absolute stickler for blood pressure. God, if any of my past students are watching this, they'll be like, oh my God. Yeah, it's such an important thing for us to be doing. In the online consult, we can be talking to them about the electronic monitors that we'd like them to use, and how they use them and when they use them, and being able to track that stuff. Or the smart watches and devices for people that are a bit more tech savvy. A lot of people are still a little bit scared of that stuff. And I just see, the thing is, we use this stuff not just for the solid what and how and all the data, results, but we can track change. And the other thing that's really important is that when we are using these physical examination skills in any consult, online or face-to-face, your patients will love you. They will just, you are going to be the rock star advocate for them, and it's the same with referring. I don't think it's done particularly well in our industry at the moment, but referring to a GP, to other modalities, is very, very, very important. And it's definitely not a weakness. It's definitely not a sign that you don't know enough. Your patient is really going to think that you've got their back. And you've got a mile for them.
Totally. It's creating that whole team for them and knowing your limitations.
Absolutely. I've had some pretty intense experiences with that. One in particular that sits, and okay, this is another one of my whys, because when I get really about red flags and referring and being an advocate for your patient, I had one of my, and I come back to this over and over again in my mind and in my heart. I had one of the most important patients that I have seen, and we all have those people that will stay with you forever, presented to me with what I once again, scope of practice. It was definitely not within my scope of practice to inspect this area of the body, but she had come back with what she called reoccurring vaginal thrush. And she had been number of antifungal treatments, a number of courses of things, and nothing was kind of helping. And we were talking about her symptoms and her experience with this, and she was just at the end of her rope with it. And I took about 3 goes, referral letters and things like that, for someone to finally inspect this. And there was not even an inspection done of it,
Wow.
with her GP. And it was that thing where it was like, you know what, yes, this is out of my scope of practice. I could have easily have just sent that referral off, and that was my job had been done then. But it was like, no, this is not happening. No, she is not getting the care that she needs in this area. Finally got what she needed. She didn't have thrush. She had a very, very rare form of labia cancer.
Wow. Gosh, lucky you kept persisting and supporting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was such a light bulb. It was such a, oh, this is not a game. This is not a box to check for us as practitioners. This is not a one and done. I've done what I need to do here. They're in the wrong. I don't even care who it was. I don't care that it was missed. I don't care about talking about who's right and who's wrong. It was like, this woman just needs help.
Yeah.
Let's keep pushing.
Yeah.
So, and now I had to have the confidence in myself, in my scope of practice, in my procedures and protocols around what I do when I'm potentially not, encountering red flags, to be able to push for that. And as I said, that story really sits. She passed about 6 months after that.
Oh, sorry.
And but within that time, she was so, oh, there goes my dog. She was so happy. Like she actually said to me, you've just really helped me.
That's beautiful. What a gift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because she even said, I thought I was going crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that story sits with me, and it kind of, we all have different stories of different things, and and I just, even now I'm getting that feeling in my stomach. It's like, no.
Yeah.
Yes. So I went on to treat her family and her daughter and grandkids and things like that, and it was it was an absolute honor.
Yeah, it's really special. And in those moments where you do need that real confidence and trust in yourself and your ability, what advice do you have for people who might find themselves in a situation, regardless or not of what they're dealing with in front of them, but where they really just like need to back themselves and what they're doing? Because that happens pretty much day to day and in what we're doing. How did you cultivate that inner confidence and strength and trust?
Having a really strong, so a couple of different ways, like actually just having a solid basis of learning, right? So that, once again, that's that what and the how to. So knowing that stuff, being able to go back and look at things and double check things if I need to. Having another thing is having a support team. So this was, the support, like, there's lots of different Facebook groups now. There's like, clinical groups that you can be part of. You're like, hey guys, I'm kind of come across this. What do you think? And you can get sometimes things that are wildly out of what you would do, but even that's great to see. But you'll get some ideas and you'll get some support in that. You will, and also having some really solid protocols about clinical protocols. I talk about this in my training. I talk about green, orange, and red flags, so sort of like the stoplights. So the green, when you come across any sign or symptom, and a green is where you're just good to go. Okay, cool. I'm super confident about helping. We don't treat or cure, but being part of the conversation and treating this and being I'm really confident. This is green. This is good to go. Things are a bit more orange. It's like, oh, okay. This I'm a little bit sort of, this is a little bit out of my comfort zone, but you know what? I feel confident with this treatment protocol that I'm going to go ahead with. But also what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask for support. I'm going to possibly get some mentoring in this area, but also I'm going to refer. I'm going to refer anyway. I'm going to send this person to the GP to test for this or that or whatever, because I'm just going to cover myself and I'm going to cover this person, and I'm going to put my ego aside and I'm going to go, that's that. Let's just do it all together. So that's the kind of gray area. I mean, then there's the red flags where you're like, no, that's definitely a red flag. It might be acute if someone comes in and they've got really high blood pressure, or they've seen you and they're really high blood pressure. You're like, no, I'd like you to go and get that looked at now.
Yeah.
Or they're presenting with really acute mental state assessment stuff, like signs and symptoms there. I cover all of that in the trainings too, in the library. But things to look out for there. It's like, no, I'd like you to just go and get that checked right now. If they're face-to-face and you feel like they couldn't drive themselves, if you're online, you can be the person that calls an ambulance for them.
Yeah.
Or if they're here, they're in your clinic, then you can call an ambulance for them to arrive there. And what it comes down to is that when having no one's ever 100% confident with everything.
Yeah.
That's just humans.
Yeah, and we shouldn't be. It's impossible and unrealistic.
And if you think you're going to be, then it's an uphill battle.
Yeah.
But if you ask yourself, would I rather get it wrong and maybe feel a little bit silly, or I might have potentially just helped them in a way that, like, I wouldn't have if I had. You got to take that chance.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I'd rather look and feel a little bit silly for maybe overreacting.
Yeah, totally.
The orange and red flags.
Yeah, beautiful. So what I'm hearing from that is to have the foundation and have that knowledge and really be like read up in your area, but then also to know that you're not alone and it's okay to ask for help. It's important to ask for help, actually, especially in certain scenarios and cases.
It's vital.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a lot of practitioners that are getting burnt out because of the expectations on themselves to know and do it all.
Yeah, so true.
You don't need to.
Yeah. Such a good reminder. Yeah, absolutely do not need to.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Speaking of learning, and this doesn't have to be actually learning related, but if you could recommend one book for every listener to read, what would it be and why? And like I said, it doesn't just have to be learning. It can be fiction, it can be nonfiction, it can be whatever. What's coming to you right now?
Oh, okay. So in the sphere of learning, because as I said, I think mindset and developing yourself is going to be the driver of everything that you do in your business.
100%. Yeah.
If you don't continuously kind of work on that, then it doesn't matter how many social media courses you do, doesn't matter how many clinical courses you do, including mine. But if you're not working on that, you're not going to use it. You're just not going to do any of it. It'll sit on the shelf, be another little beautiful little thing in your inbox. So the book, Katie. One of the books I actually read this probably about once a year is The Big Leap.
Oh, cool. Yes. Such a good one.
Yeah. So uncovering your upper limits.
Yeah.
So when you're sort of coming to that next stage of your evolution, life, business, whatever. I mean, let's face it, they're all intertwined anyway.
Yes.
Is that you know, being able to be able to recognize your own flavor of things, that little sabotages that you do, and go, oh, there's that old chestnut again.
Yes.
Every time I get a new client, I feel a bit sick, you know, or whatever it might be.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good one. The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. I also back that. I recommend that too. Yeah. Yeah, beautiful. And do you have any parting words of advice or wisdom for the listeners today before we wrap up?
I do. I'm sure I do.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes. And this is part of your wine. God, my dog is barking. It's so annoying.
That's all good. We keep it
real. Gratitude. So I consider being in the position to build my dream business in life. And this is the same for all your listeners, because if you are the person that's completed or are completing your studies in your chosen field that you've chosen to do because that's what you love, if you are growing your business and working in your dream business, then you have been given an opportunity that so many people around the world aren't afforded.
So true.
And if you have that opportunity, it is not to be squandered.
Yeah. Yeah, such a good reminder. Gratitude. That's beautiful. Amazing.
It's very motivating.
Yeah, it is. And then when you start to look at all the things to be grateful for, it makes you feel excited to continue and continue building on that dream life, dream business, dream career, whatever that looks like for you, because you're already coming from that place of love and gratitude. So it's kind of getting back into that flow, isn't it? Rather than the upstream battle that we can find ourselves in when we're not appreciating. Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. Beautiful. And most importantly, where can the listeners find you and dive into all of your phenomenal resources and courses and webinars and everything that you have available to help us upskill?
Yes. Okay. So you can find, I'm on Instagram, Katie Barron Naturopath there. I prefer Instagram to Facebook, but I'm in Facebook too. That's Katie Barron, facilitator and educator on Facebook. And my website is where you can kind of see everything, and that's katiebarron.com.au.
Beautiful. Yeah. And I'll pop links to all of that in the show notes and anything that I share for the listeners. But thank you so much, Katie, for being here today, for sharing all of your beautiful wisdom and expertise. It's been such a pleasure to speak to you, and I look forward to continuing to see your business flourish.
Oh, thanks so much. It's been really fun.
Yeah, thank you.